All right, we are live with Coach Mike Schumm.
What's happening, Matt?
Hey, man, we're gonna just give it a second here, let a few people get on and log on here. But how's Southern California? What's going on? Are the beaches closed again?
Yeah, Southern California, first of all, is awesome. As you know, we came from the East Coast, so, having to go through this pandemic and are much easier and comfortable here than it is back east for a couple of reasons, right? Because the outbreaks haven't been nearly as bad, and the weather is a lot more comfortable here, I guess we'll say, on there. So yeah, we're thrilled. We love it. And to be honest with you, beaches, parks, I'm not keeping much attention on that because I'm so damn busy, quite frankly. I'm just doing as much as I can to help my clients, do what they need to do, get a good night's sleep, get a good workout in and back. So that's been really the routine for probably 7-8 weeks now. I'm losing track a little bit, but yeah, we'll get to the beaches and parks, I think, maybe in another month or two. But yeah, we're just doing what we can right now.
Full on maintenance mode right now, for sure.
Yes.
Well, cool. Well, let's kind of kick this off. So, hey, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Again, of course, I'm Matt Farnham, and this is a spinoff of our Real Life at Level 10 series, where I discuss insights of real estate leadership and personal growth. And we decided, in light of COVID-19 and just this environment we're walking through, to kind of put pause on that content for now and really just be relevant. And let's talk about, this situation we're in and how different people in different industries are leading through it or, pivoting as necessary to get through these times. And I'm excited for Coach Mike to be with me today. Mike is my personal real estate coach for my partner and I, and just an incredible leader of leaders. Mike, you coach, I think, 50 team leaders like me across the country, some of which have far more impressive businesses than mine. So you're a very impressive individual. And so aside from coaching, and I know your business background in building businesses, just tell everybody real quick a little bit about Mike Schumm.
A little bit about Mike Schumm. Let's just see. As I started my working career, I thought first I went to college to become a dentist, believe it or not. And I started going. I was like, what? This is going to take a long time. I'm not going to make any money. I'm like, this wasn't for me. You kind of learn yourself pretty young, actually. So a friend of mine got a job at Apple Bank, I remember, in technology, doing computer programming. And he's like, hey, Grumman had a data systems class, and I became a computer programmer, a computer operator, and I went to work for corporate America at Grumman Data Systems. And I soon realized I got in a lot of trouble because I would go to work and I was always trying to make the department better. I taught them how to cut out overtime and how to run this business more efficiently. Management loved me, and my colleagues thought I was a brown noser. I was like, this isn't going so well. So then my direct report said, you know what, I'm going to bring you to the manager and we're going to get you a promotion. We're going to get you a raise. You're doing such a good job for the company. I was excited. If you've been to corporate America, do you know what the boss said? Well, you got to be in this position for at least, 12 to 18 months, and then we'll give you a 3% raise. And then you could apply for the next position, a couple of years from now and kind of climb that ladder. And I couldn't do it. So I started building businesses. So I worked third shift from 11 to 7. And the first company was a construction company, painting company. So I would leave the office at 7 a.m. and I would then start painting people's houses all day long. And that turned into, from painting, I would come to your house, Matt, and you'd say, hey, Mike, my plumbing's leaking, or I need to put a door in. Do you know how to do that? And I didn't know how to do it. But I was like, I realized I saw the pattern. Almost every job I was getting a request like that. So I would go to Home Depot, and they had a video series called Home Time at the time, little VHS tapes. And I would learn, if you needed your window replaced, how to put a window in. And I would go to the hardware store at the time before all the Home Depots were around, and I would ask them, how do you put a window in? And I would come back next week, and I would put a window in your house. I taught myself how to essentially build a house or how to repair a house. Over years, I was doing one job at a time and reinvesting. That time, I learned every job I had, I took some money and I bought a new tool. I bought a saw, and then I bought a hammer, and I bought a bigger ladder, and I just reinvested. So that took me to probably my early 20s. Then I got this bug to move to Florida. It was so expensive. I was in Long Island at the time. So I just picked up pretty spontaneously, literally said, Mom, I'm moving to Florida tomorrow. She's like, you are? I was like, yeah. Do you have a job? Nope. Do you have a house? Nope. I'll figure it out when I get there. And I put all my tools in the back of a Ford F-150, and I drove 1,250 miles to the West Coast at Clearwater area of Florida, and I had to figure it out. I mean, when you burn the bridges, Matt, you learn to figure stuff out. There's no options. I had no friends, I had no family, and no job. So I built a couple of companies down there. One was a property management company. The other one was a company that did cleaning services of all types. We cleaned boats, car lots, houses, carpeting, you name it. And that was a lot of fun for a number of years. But then I learned I was traveling because my family was back east. So I was back and forth like every month for weddings, funerals, sweet 16s. And what I learned on the west coast of Florida, you can hustle, but you're probably not going to make the money that you could back in the Northeast. Like I had guys working for me, I remember at the time, for $3 an hour. They were just like, they couldn't decide. I was going to go fishing today, hunting, or should I come to work? And that was it. As long as they had beer money, they weren't coming to work. They were going fishing on there. So I sold those companies, and I bought a meat distribution company back in the Northeast and a foreclosure at the same time. So I bought my first REO property and started a meat distribution company. I bought one, a meat distribution company. I did that for 12 years. So that was a passion. Where it was a lifestyle, that business you'd start at 3 o'clock in the morning and go for sometimes 15, 20 hours a day. Awesome business, a lot of fun. I met tons of people. And then in working on the foreclosure, I had my son. And when I had my son, I started missing things, right? I was working all these hours because I thought my job as a father was to provide, right? My job was to go out and make money. That was my role. Then I started to realize I was missing the birthday parties. I wasn't missing the things at school. I was missing the sporting things that he was starting to get into. And he was about 4 at this time. So I was like, dang, what am I going to do? So at the time, I told my wife, I'm going to sell the business and I'm going to start something new. She's like, what? That's crazy. What do you mean? Just going to close up. Like we were doing pretty well at the time. We had the big house, the dog, right? No bills. And I was like, no, my son, spending time with my son was more important to me than money at the time. So I sold the business and then figured out what I was going to do for a living. My first choice, I read this book. So I read a lot of books. I don't know if you know that about me, but I've read about 400 books. So I got this book on how to pick the perfect profession. And they said very simply, find something that you like to do and you're naturally good at. It was easy. Traveling. So as you'll learn about me, and Matt, you know about me, I OCD on stuff. So the first thing I did was I memorized every airport code in the United States. So I knew every airport code, and then I got a job at a wholesaler where they sell like trips and packages. And this is a time when Priceline and those companies were just starting, and airlines weren't paying commissions anymore for travel agents to book airline flights. You just go online and do it for free. So after all my research and studying, I realized that wasn't going to work out for me because there's no money to be made. The only money to be made at that time in travel was in overseas tours. The problem was if they didn't pay you, you had no recourse. You wouldn't get on a plane and go to Italy to try to get your money. So second option was real estate because I had the property management company. I'd started this flip with this REO property. And I kind of always liked houses, the construction work I did. So it seemed like a natural fit, mainly because like most people, real estate, you can create a schedule, right? You can create so I could work and still be there for my son. So that's my work life. And then that led into the real estate, became a team, it got really big. And then Tom Ferry, I was coaching with them as a client, right? No intention of ever becoming a coach. And in doing so, my coach said, hey, Tom's growing the company and they're looking for some new coaches. I think you'd be good. Like you're pretty much coaching your team. Why not coach some other agents? And first of all, it was more like for me to pay it forward because I had started real estate in 2003. Just learning the business, getting started. A couple of years later, as you know, some people may not, the market's crashed and just everything, the bottom fell out. Long Island got hit especially hard. So one of the reasons I'm so grateful for Tom is that Tom told me 2 years before that happened, that it was going to happen. And he said, you've got to learn how to be a short sale negotiator and you have to learn the REO business, how to do foreclosures. Now, realize I've been in the real estate business like a heartbeat. I could barely know how to sell a regular single family home, never mind learn these complex transactions, right? Have you negotiated short sales? They're a little tricky, right? So the market crashed. A lot of my competitors went out of business, dried up, and my business exploded because I opened my inbox and asset managers having 15 listings one day. I was like, whoa. So I thrived when most of my competitors, so I'll never forget that. And Tom is the reason I'm here today. kept my business afloat. We thrived, and I became a coach for him about 6, 7 years ago. And again, because of this OCD problem I have, I went from like 0 clients to 120 clients in a very short period of time.
Holy cow.
So I was running a full real estate team and business and coaching over 100 real estate agents. And I realized I liked it a lot. But I think what separates myself from a lot of other individuals in the real estate space is I look at real estate as a business, not a job.
Right.
So when I started coaching clients like yourself, I'm teaching them to think more like a CEO than to actually think about selling a real estate, a home in real estate, right? Building a system, building a process, profitability, and those types of things. So these single agents that I started working with started to build teams like I did, because that's what I knew. I was just teaching them basically what I had done, right? That's all I really knew, how to build a real estate team. And then the real estate team, the teams I was coaching got bigger and bigger. And then to where I am now, like with you and about, I think I have 47 currently, some of the largest teams in the country I'm coaching now and guiding. And it's interesting at this level, I don't even call it so much coaching anymore. It's almost like mentoring, if you will, and consulting is probably what I'm doing more of than handling like a specific transaction, as we're building these processes and systems and high level conversations with the clients on there. So it's been an extraordinary ride. And sometimes you accidentally find the ideal job for you. That was coaching for me.
Well, it's funny you mentioned you first targeted real estate because of the scheduling. Most realtors feel the complete opposite. They feel like the schedule is just all over the place, but because you think so much like this CEO structured businessman,
right?
And that's where I appreciate your coaching, because that's what we all aspire to get to. And here you are, 18,000 coaching calls later. And just to clarify for Mike, anybody watching, when he says 47 people, these aren't 47 realtors. These are 47 rock star, extraordinary team leaders. Probably 6,000 to 8,000 transactions, I would assume, Mike, between the
more than that. Yeah, I think last I checked, it was over 10,000. You can put it in perspective. Like if you count the admin and the agents on the teams, we're probably talking about 1,000 individuals.
Wow, that's
scheduled. Yeah.
Well, awesome. So we definitely have some credibility on the call today. So first of all, like, I just want to hear your perspective. How do you coach 47 people like me who are typically artists, not operators, and we're all over the place? And how do you keep 47 people on track that have all these new shiny ideas they want to go chase? What's the golden nugget to that?
The golden nugget first is understanding the client, because as you said, there are a number of expressives in the real estate space, but you also have drivers, you have analytics and amiables. So another thing, from doing a lot of reading, I've learned calibration, I think, fairly well. So again, another unique quality is you tend to gravitate to people that are similar to you. So what I've learned to do is I have some super analytic clients that love spreadsheets, and I've learned how to communicate with them very differently, say from the expressive client, which I have one of those. She's probably like 120 I, right? She is just energy all the time, right? Everything is just boom. So I would say to answer the question correctly is first you have to learn the client. Like, I don't learn the client on the first call. It probably seriously takes a good 3 or 4 calls where I start to understand them and how they communicate best, how they understand best, how they respond best to things on there. Because even like accountability is a big thing in coaching. Matter of fact, the number one reason why most people get into coaching is for accountability. It works very differently for each client. Some respond to a tougher, direct type of accountability. Some people I would crush if I was too hard on them, they would cry. So you learn. So I think it's an evolution. Like most of my clients, I'll share, not most, but a majority of them now, we're going to a 3rd, 4th, 5th year together, talking to them every week. I feel more like I'm part of their family, quite honestly, than just a coach. When you talk to someone every week and you're just involved in their business in such a deep level, that you really become, I feel like I'm an extension of the team in a sense, of all the teams I coach. And I take that very seriously. If I'm going to work with someone, it's just as much my responsibility as it is theirs to achieve these goals.
Right. Well, let's see. We're about 2 years in together, and you haven't made me cry yet. So thank you very much.
Yes, no, not something that we want to do for sure.
So, Mike, right now with COVID-19, everybody's businesses are going through all types of changes. What are you seeing? How has COVID-19 affected you as a coach personally? And what are some of the consistent ways it's affecting the clients you're coaching?
Let's see, the way it's affected me as a coach. So it's interesting. I learned something about myself actually from my wife, Lisa. So my adrenaline response is a lot different. I've learned from a lot of people is that when I'm faced with some adversity or some shocking news or information or where most people react to that, I actually become more focused. I don't know, it's just something that she noticed in me. I didn't even know I had this, right? So I'll give you an example. When we first started dating, I was driving down the highway and probably, I don't know, doing 55, 60 on some highway, right? Just driving down the road casually. An animal ran out from the woods onto the highway. And I just kind of had the steering wheel, just kind of went, boop, just kind of steered around it, just kept doing 60 miles an hour, didn't say a word. And then Lisa nearly had a heart attack in the passenger. She's like, from this animal. She's like, you didn't react. That animal, we could have died or whatever. The car could have flipped over. And so the same here. As soon as this stuff started to go down, I just went into this focus mode of like, all right, how do we get through this? What's going to happen? What's the reality of the situation? And it really has gotten me to, I guess the magic word here is future pace, because the event they've all been talking about, this V-shaped pattern, right? It's going to be a temporary, is that a lot of people are getting stuck in the moment, and the moment was going to be a heartbeat. I said, let's just survive the moment, and let's figure out what we're going to do on the other side of the moment to grow our businesses significantly on there. So the virus has definitely caused me to, one example is like, I never watched the news. Like I learned from Tom, the news is really just negative information that they're trying to sell. So they could sell ad space on their channels on there. So before COVID, I would tell you, I have no idea. Like you asked me about the beaches and the parks. I honestly don't know, because I don't watch the news. But because of COVID, that's one thing I've changed. I think I have to be informed of the big news break headlines that are going on. So now I watch the news for like 5 minutes. I'll turn on like the Wall Street Journal online, and I'll read the headlines each morning. So that's a significant change for me. If you haven't watched the news in like, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, I'm amazed what they print. I've never watched that stuff. So the news is a significant change. My energy level, which is always fairly decent, but I've had to elevate that because in this environment, the clients, some of them are emotionally challenged right now. Their energy levels are low. So I've got to provide that extra energy on the call that I can share with them to get them up to an energy level where they can produce and perform like they need to. Is a big change on there. The whole stay-at-home order is like, one way I get up my energy is through exercise. So me and my son, Mikey, we'd go to the gym on a regular basis. They closed the gym. I didn't work out for about a month. I was like, I started to feel like that energy decreasing. So we bought a bunch of gym equipment. Now my living room looks like a gym. It wouldn't look like that if there wasn't a COVID situation here. As far as the clients, how's it affected the clients? Wow. I'll tell you, it affected them interesting. They fall into 3 buckets, I'll tell you. Is that about a third of my clients or so, when this started to happen, I was amazed, Matt. I don't know how to say this so it's politically correct, but they were almost excited about it because they knew there was going to be opportunities from a downturn, right? That every downturn is that if you read books on successful people, most fortunes were made in downturn markets, not in bull markets on there. So they were going to call like, hey, coach, where's the opportunity? Where are we going to do? What are we going to find? I know something good is going to happen out of this. And they were excited, right, to grow their businesses and finding the opportunity. Number 2 were the clients I had that would be really positive this week and everything is good, then they would lose it. Like I could tell maybe they watched the news a little bit or they heard something, right? And the mindset kicked in and they just lost it. And I had to bring them back. And then they were okay. And then there was a third group, I'll tell you, that just got freaked out. My guess is they probably watched the news too much and they just felt like this was the end, right? Oh my gosh, we're not going to survive this. And they've checked out. Matter of fact, a lot of the agents on the teams I coach have been like that, right? They were just in a position where they thought this was more than they could bear. And they've checked out for a little bit. So I think you'll see that actually in real estate, like across the United States, that there'll probably be some attrition of real estate agents that'll.
And not to sound terrible, but this sounds terrible, I know, but that's a good thing. I mean, there's a lot of, the barrier of entry into our industry is not what it should be. And there's a lot of folks that probably shouldn't be guiding people through the biggest decision of their financial life. So
yeah. I'm in agreement with you at that. Because I learned just yesterday, I coach in the US and Canada. So one of my Canadian clients was telling me yesterday, in their Edmonton province, to get a real estate license, you need to get a 3-year college degree. I was like, wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a that's a commitment, right? So anyway, that's a story for another day. Go ahead.
Another conversation. Well, so what are a couple just kind of big ideas right now that you find yourself speaking to a lot right now, just to encourage and challenge the clients that you're coaching?
Some of the big ideas. So first, it's a lot of people may not know, but real estate, residential and definitely commercial, are some of the more of the antiquated businesses in the U.S. Amazing, even like the state of California, which I think is very progressive in a lot of ways, is we never had electronic notaries here. So when this went down and you couldn't notarize something electronically, you couldn't transact in the state of California. That was a big problem. So some of the things that the clients are learning is how to update our systems and our processes and the way we do business, because we're antiquated, quite frankly. There's a I don't know if you know about Montgomery County. I learned in Maryland, they did all their recordings manually. So as soon as they closed the courthouse, everything shut down because they couldn't record anything on there. So a lot of my clients are learning, right, all the inefficiencies of their business and how to tighten them up. They're learning new technologies. Like we're doing a lot of stuff virtually now, right? Virtual tours, virtual showings, virtual meetings, virtual interviews, all that kind of stuff. This is, some were dabbling, some were better than others, right? Like secondary home markets, military markets, they've been doing these kind of things for a bit. But the rest of the country, not so much. So there's been a learning curve. Even like this, we're using a product here called StreamYard. That's a really cool product that most of them didn't know about until now, but now it's very helpful for them to help grow their businesses. So that's been a major change for sure.
And StreamYard's a quick example of exactly what you're doing. You're trying to scratch and claw to find value to provide to your clients, because our friend Kyle Whistle had mentioned StreamYard, and then you kind of reinforced that with me to actually make me check it out.
Right.
And here we are using it consistently because it's incredible. So.
Yes, very good on there. The other thing I would share with you is that I learned this as a coach. As I told you, I'm trying to really convert my clients into CEOs, not real estate agents. That's really my focus. Is that most of them have no formal leadership experience. Is that not one? I don't think one of the clients I coach currently got into real estate with this big dream of building a big giant team and have all this leadership and management experience. What has happened to almost all of them, it's the same pattern. They happen to be good at sales, and someone along the line said you need an assistant to help you with the paperwork. And someone else said you should get a buyer's agent or a showing agent. And before you know it, you're managing people, and you have no idea how to do that. So I've taught them, and we've worked through that over the last few years. But then COVID came and created a whole new set of problems. Like, how do you lead a team virtually? How do you keep them motivated? Like I coach to these three things. In order to have retention within a company, the environment needs to be fun to work in. People spend a lot of time at work. They got to enjoy where they're working, or they'll leave. Number two is recognition. Like when you have your agents and your employees in front of each other, it's very, very helpful to recognize them for doing good deeds and good results on there. People love to get recognized in front of their peers, but now we're virtual. And then the last one is individual empathetic appreciation. So again, when you're able to do things face to face, or when you're in the office, those things are fairly easy to do. Now I taught them how to do those things, and now they had to figure out how to do all those same things virtually. And like some of my teams have 30, 40, 50, 60 agents. How the heck do you do that now? And like I said, some of the agents were checking out, some were in and out. It was so they had to learn how to manage a pretty big organization in a very short period of time, totally virtually. Not just the buyers and sellers, but managing maybe 50, 60 people also, totally virtually, which had zero experience in. So that's been the learning curve, I think, is how to become a great leader, and then how to do that, not just in the office, but do it remotely.
Right. That's a challenge for sure. There's the call that we had last week with Vance Bittman, a mentor of mine. Him and I were talking about how, leaders aren't born in time of crisis. It's really when you find out if you really can lead. Leaders are forged in times of crisis. So, but many of us, and guilty as charged, I used to always joke that, I'm just a really good realtor that happens to own a company, because it just happens when you start to do good at your job, you get more opportunities than you can get to, and you have to start building. But I think that's probably most of the people you coach started that way. So.
Everyone. If I think for a second, I look at the backstory, right? 100%, not even 99. It's 100%. They're
Yeah.
all down that same path. Yeah, it's pretty interesting how it works out in real estate, just by accident, but it's all right. It's all working good.
But with purpose. So perspective, right now, I think right now is a season where myself included, but I think everybody's got a chance to really kind of slow down. A friend of mine said almost like a hard reset, like you shut your phone off and turn it back on for a hard reset, but it's a chance to get a new perspective. So how is your perspective changing as a leader right now, as a coach, maybe as a husband or father, but how's your perspective changing more so probably on the real estate business side, but just overall?
That's a great question. There's one clear observation I've learned, because again, going back talking to clients like every week for years and years, besides their businesses, you start to learn a little bit about their home life as well. So here's an observation, is that if you don't put time in with your family, that if something like this happens and you don't have really strong relationships, something like this strains the relationship terribly. Because now you're in an environment where maybe you escaped to the office or you worked a lot of hours, right, to maybe minimize a lot of interactions because the relationship isn't strong with your spouse or your kid, whatever the case may be. And now you're at stay-at-home orders, you're with them 24/7. So if you had a strained relationship, it definitely got exasperated during that. I had clients, I had a number of them that were going through challenges like this. So I recognized, for me, the recognition was that you've got to work on your relationships with your family and the people most important to you, because when it comes down to it, those are the people going to support you and be here for you when the chips are down. And stuck in this environment, right? I couldn't imagine, because my son is my best friend. Lisa is my soulmate. And like a lot of people have been complaining about the quarantine and the lockdown. I'll tell you, between you and I and everyone else who's watching this thing, we've had zero stresses about it as far as the lifestyle, right? Because we love spending time together. Matter of fact, we like it better because now the gym is in the living room. I save an hour a day in commuting time because now me and my son just walk to the living room, so we can spend more time together. And it's really helped to improve our relationships and strengthen them. They were great already. Where I can imagine if our relationship were on the rocks a little bit, that this stay-at-home order would have challenged those even more, because I've seen it happen with other clients. So that's been one observation. Really goes to show you how strong the households were of some of my clients and who was not. This definitely exposed the weak ones.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. That's a great share. And I had something I was going to say about that. That was, one of my team members was saying that, right now, there's a book that we've recently read, a few of us on our team, called the Relentless Elimination of Hurry. And it's, but the idea behind the book is everything has, what's the cost benefit analysis of, if you buy hockey tickets, well, now you got to go to all these games, and there's a cost to that, because that's something you're not getting to if you do that. So you have to analyze all these things you allow into your life. But that's what she was saying is, this different pace we've been walking through the last 60 days, here's a chance in the coming weeks, as things start to get back to normal, of what do we actually allow back into our schedule, into our routine. Because now I think a lot of people have had a chance to reset and get that family time right. So I think all of us are going to have to work through that in the weeks to come.
Yeah, I think another observation there is that I think buyers specifically will do a lot more virtual shopping and a lot more of their homework online. Because really, like I went to, one of my clients was showcasing five virtual open houses a couple of weekends ago down in Marco Island in Florida. Mary Bartos, if you know Mary.
Yeah.
So Mary, I was just trying to feel like, what does this feel like to be a buyer, like on this virtual experience on there? And I realized I loved it because a couple of the properties, after they described them and they showed their 3D tour, I had no interest in. If I was buying down there, I would have gotten in my car and drove to the property and sign in. The agent would have been calling me for a property I had no interest in on there. By doing all this virtual stuff, I can imagine buyers will actually go and see. Before the crash, I'll share with you, the average number of homes in the US a buyer would look at is 10. I think you're going to see a big reduction in that number. They do a lot more homework because they want their anonymity. They'd rather do as much as they can and just go look at maybe 1 or 2 homes, or maybe 3, right? So I think that'll be an outcome. I think you'll see is it'll be a lot more electronic. And I think this virtual stuff, in the beginning, everyone was like, nobody would ever buy a house virtually. Well, we've learned that's not true. Not true at all. So I think that's going to become more comfortable and almost preferential, especially for introverts, right? Analytic type people who don't like, dealing with a lot of people to begin with. These new skills that we're learning, I think will feed right into, and the consumer is going to dictate our industry more than anyone. If they're saying we like this, it's going to stay, and I think they are, from what I'm hearing so far.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and like you shared that, Showing Time puts out the report on showing activity, but not only is buyers looking at more homes virtually, they're looking at less homes. They're more qualified. They're further down the pipeline. They're more educated. They know what they want. Yep. And our team's loving working with these buyers because, not to sound terrible for all of you who are the tire kickers out there, but like, we're working with real people. There's no sifting through the rubble to find the gem anymore. Like, everybody's a real qualified buyer because nobody's looking at homes for fun right now.
Right.
In fact, I told my team, I said, how the bankers, they study the $100 bill, the correct one, and they don't study the counterfeits, because if you know the real one so well, you don't have to know what the counterfeit looks like. So that's how working with buyers is going to be on the back end of COVID-19. So,
yes, very true. We learned that with the neighbors when we took a listing. If we got a call and people were like, "Oh, just curious, how much is that new listing you put up?" And we started to ask them questions, they would immediately back down. Like, they didn't want any questions. They didn't want the homeowner to know the neighbor was inquiring about their property. Yeah. That was the telltale sign that it wasn't a real lead. It was a nosy neighbor calling.
Yeah. So a couple more questions, and I want to honor your time, Mike. I know you have another meeting here in a few minutes. How do you think, kind of a general question, but what's going to never be the same on the back end of coronavirus? I think some of the technology, we talked about that, the virtual showings and that type of tech being leveraged. One thing you and I actually were speaking about on our coaching call before this was client experience. My team's very passionate about client experience, and we truly want to have just an extraordinary experience for the client in their home sale or purchase. I think that's something that's going to be huge on the back end of COVID-19, because people are hungry for that relational interaction again and that experience that they aren't getting sitting at home right now. But what else, that included, but what do you think is real estate going to be different on the other side of this?
Well, one thing is the impact this COVID is having on our economy, right? So we know unemployment's been rising. The market's been in flux for days and weeks now, going up and down. So the one thing that the federal government's going to do to help regulate that and stimulate our markets is, not everyone knows, but real estate is a big portion of the GDP, and it also affects a lot of other industries and businesses. So when real estate's working well, the country generally works really well. So what the federal government's going to do to stimulate our industry as much as they can is keep interest rates really low. So as they drop these, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, these are so low." From what I've been hearing from the experts, I'm not a mortgage expert, is that you can imagine seeing 3.5% or so interest rates for the next 2.5 years or so. So a long run of low interest, I think, is one of the outcomes that you're going to see of this. I think it was interesting too to see the iBuyer reaction, right? Is that we always wondered how they were making money, and we quick realized they weren't. As soon as there was a chance the market was going to dip, what did all the big iBuyers do? They closed shop instantly. They saw the handwriting on the wall. Interesting. I don't know if you heard this morning, Open Door started purchasing again.
Yep, I heard that. So did OfferPad. But what's interesting is you mentioned those buyers. They pulled out in the middle of transactions and left people high and dry. I mean, sure, they offered them a remedy, but my goodness, if you're half moved out of your house,
yeah,
that stung a bit. So yeah, obviously they're in it for the money, not for the
right. It also spawns opportunity. So another change of that is like a newer type companies like EasyKnock.com, where they allow you to pull equity out of a home and rent your house back. Just flexibility that homeowners never had before, I think, have been created out of necessity, because a company like that recognizes the challenge that that we're going to be having in our industry for the next few years is very low inventory. And one of the biggest challenges is, if you own a home, how do you get out of this one and not be homeless and get into the next one when there's very few to choose from? So you don't want to commit to selling this house, because if you did, right? So when companies like this company offer ways of pulling out your equity, making a non-contingent cash offer, and then selling your house second on there. So I think you're going to find some things like that are coming out of necessity of this virus, that's going to create those types of opportunities. We had low inventory before we got into this. Right. It's even lower now. And besides the low interest rate, we're going to have a big wave of millennial buyers coming into our markets, which is going to create an enormous amount of demand into a market that already has low supply. So I think it's going to put a lot of downward pressure on the inventory to find inventory to sell people.
Well, first thing you do is you call Team Farnham or your local Rockstar agent and have them, put a game plan together to guide you through that process. But all right, hey, I'm going to rapid fire with you here to wrap up, Mike, so you can get on to your next meeting. But I'm curious because I really respect you and admire you as a leader. What are you learning about yourself right now?
Learning about myself right now. I'll go back to something I said a little bit earlier, is this energy component, how important that is, right? During a time of crisis, in order to navigate this properly and feel strong, is this exercise and diet. How we've heard about it for years, how it's important. They got to eat healthy, exercise, and sleep. When you're in a time of crisis, you double down on that stuff. So I'll tell you, between sometimes 8 to 10 hours of sleep some nights. One thing I noticed difference, I'll give you another observation that I've worked all these businesses for 30 something years. Like I can put in tremendous amount of hours and not feel taxed all that bad. This virus was mentally challenging, which was a lot tougher than the physically challenging of just putting hours in, because I didn't know, nor did anyone else, what was happening tomorrow. How long was it going to last? How it was going to impact? So I was spending so much energy trying to stay ahead of something that we had no idea what was going on, right, which mentally was totally draining, I'll tell you. So sometimes I would just do my coaching calls, do my research, right, and crash and get a good 8 hours sleep. But then getting the exercise in, hydration is another thing that I've upped tremendously. Like I'm up to probably over 100 ounces of water a day now. I'm drinking just to stay hydrated. And again, that helps your energy level. Combine that with sleep and exercise, I'm ready to do anything right now. I think that's critical in a time like this, where some people turn to alcohol, or some people maybe try to overwork themselves and they're not where they are. The biggest challenge, I think, is not so much the virus, is the mindset. If I look at my clients or where this could affect you, because when I look at the numbers, like the numbers don't lie. Most of my clients, and there's some plus or minus, but let's take the majority of them, their numbers are almost identical up to or in May, beginning of May this year, as 2019 up to May. Some are a little ahead, some a little behind. So really, in the whole scheme of things, nothing has changed in their business. But why are some of them so freaked out? Why are some of them so nervous about things? Uncertainty. Just being in this thing, creating uncertainty. So a lot of things I do as a coach is to provide certainty. Like I've been through 9/11, I've been through .com bubbles, right, and all these other downturns. So providing that stuff to my clients, right, because the mindset is what's going to get them. It's either going to keep them in the game or cause them to, because the actual impact has been nominal to their businesses, but it feels like it's horrible.
Yeah. Well, you've done great for us specifically, but I'm sure all your clients are being very intentional of providing resources and articles and tips and tricks, and just those emails are, I mean, you're obviously putting the time in to provide value to your clients. So that's what leaders do, man. All right. Rapid fire. What's your favorite thing about coaching?
Favorite thing might surprise you. My most favorite thing about coaching is when I can get a client to take a vacation with their family and be 100% disconnected from their business. Like they're 100% present for the whole time. They take 2 weeks and go to Europe, or, Lisa Chinati, she'd gone to London, I think for 3 weeks last year, the first time, and was on vacation with her family.
Yeah.
That's my goal with most of my clients.
Well, I love that that's your favorite thing about coaching.
It is.
So who do you follow? Who challenges you and inspires you right now?
Number one is Tom Ferry. I love him, and a lot of times he challenges the heck out of me, I would tell you. You want accountability, right? You want to be forced to rise to occasions? Follow Tom, work with Tom, watch some of his videos. So Tom definitely challenged me. As much as he supports me, he'll also challenge me, right? And then as far as like inspiration and all these other people, Steve Harney, as you mentioned, right? We use his KCM slides. Yep. Leadership, I love Simon Sinek. I'm a big fan of Simon on leadership skills, the Infinity Game, working with millennials, huge. Big fan of TED Talks. I watch some of the better TED Talks. A newer guy to the scene, but I like a lot, Tom Bilyeu. I think he does a great job interviewing a number of people. Older influencers, Jim Rohn.
I love Jim Rohn. Love him. Yes.
And then one of his mentees, Darren Hardy. So I followed Darren, big fan. Tony Robbins was a big influence. I'd gone to one of his seminars years ago, and it starts to make you open up your eyes to what's possible. I lived in a relatively small little town, right? And these influences weren't there. I started seeing Tony and these things. I'm like, wow, this is possible. Anything's possible. And it opened up my eyes on there. Who else do I follow that you would know? That's probably the main. Oh, Gary Vaynerchuk. I follow him for I love his energy and his ideas and optimism, right, and all that on there. So
leaders are learners, and you obviously have a lot of people that you pull from. My mentor says the day you stop learning, you forfeit the right to lead. So that's not where you're at. So I love that, man. All right. So real quick, maybe 2 books you'd recommend. 2 books you'd recommend everybody reads that you've maybe read in the last year.
Atomic Habits.
Great book.
Is a great book right now to read. And then from business, I like The Attraction was a great business book I read this year. For psychology, this has helped me a lot, actually. Tom had brought the speaker in. He wrote a book called The Alter Ego, where in situations where you got to perform and you feel a little intimidated maybe or something, is learning the skill of actually kind of almost like an out of body experience. Is that when, like, public speaking, a lot of people are intimidated by public speaking, is that you imagine you're not on stage, but a great public speaker like a Tom Ferry is on stage. And for him, like, how would he sound? How would he act on there? And at first I thought it was a little wonky, right? But then as I started to read the book and I've been practicing this stuff, it works. Very effective. Very effective.
Hey, I'm super dad when I get home. I turn, you change your clothes and put the bracelet on or whatever it takes. And I agree. That was great. First dinner, last question. First dinner you're going to take Lisa on when you guys can get back to your typical routine?
Wow. That's a great question. First dinner we would go to. You know what? We haven't even gotten that far. I don't know. It's if you know anything about us, we eat like super healthy. So it'll be some kind of like organic, high quality, not too fancy. We're not into pretentious stuff. Like we're in Southern California, right? So some outdoor space. Probably here we go. It's going to be a rooftop deck, right? With
nice.
good food. If it's summer, it won't be cool out, and we'll probably be there like around sunset, watching the sun go down, having a nice meal, just reflecting, right? That's what it's going to be. I just figured it out.
This too shall pass, and you'll be on top of that roof here soon, Mike. So
I can't wait.
That's awesome. And hey, I noticed my wife commented on the thread at 3:09, which is probably right when you said that your goal is to get us on vacation and focus with our family. She said she loves that. So thank you, man. All right, Mike, how do people follow you? If they want to follow you, what's the best platform? Is it Facebook, Instagram?
I'm on Facebook. Yeah, follow me on Facebook. On Instagram as well. Where else am I? I have a LinkedIn account. I haven't used that much. It's interesting. It was very popular in the beginning of my real estate career, and it kind of cooled off a little bit. But there's been a resurgence in LinkedIn, so I think I'll become more active. But for now, probably Facebook and Instagram are the 2 best places to reach me.
It's just at Mike Schumm for both of those?
Yeah, except for my son has the same name. So he had actually taken my name. So it's actually at Mike Schumm _ for Instagram.
Okay, awesome.
Mike Schumm on Facebook.
We'll post that in the comments here. So, well, Mike, I know you have a meeting here in a minute. So, man, I appreciate your time. Admire you, respect you greatly, and thank you for all the coaching that you do for me and my team and so many others. I know you're highly respected with all the brokers in our network. So it means a lot that you give me 43 minutes.
Yeah. No, well, I will tell you, and I tell everyone, I'm the grateful one. Like the opportunity to work with such amazing people and such great leaders and just all around amazing individuals. Like I wake up every day and pinch myself. Like this is my job. This is my life. I get to do. Like that day when you find the job that you love to do, that you're somewhat naturally good at it because you've done it for so long, and you get to do that for a living, is just pure bliss. So yeah, thank you, and thank all my other clients that I have as well. I got lucky.
Awesome. I've seen some of them chime in here, so they're watching you right now.
Oh, excellent. I love them all.
All right, man. Well, thanks again, Mike. I'm going to close this out here. So, hey guys, thanks for tuning in for a few minutes. Again, this is just level 10 conversations with people in my personal life that I admire and respect, that I know are living life at a level 10. So, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for the future real life episodes that will come out and these future conversations, as well as the podcast on iTunes or Google Play Store. You can get the content there as well. Please like and share the comment, ask questions so we have input for future content, future conversations. And I appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week. All right, guys.